everybody, welcome to Real Talk with Michelle. My name is Michelle, as you may have guessed. The reason I have started this channel is because I intend on doing a series of short videos on things that I think we should really be talking about in society that we really don't. So things like how to claim benefits, things like debts, how to deal with bailiffs. There are a lot of that going on. And we don't really talk about them. I think there's a real stigma attached to being in debt. There's a real stigma attached to claiming benefits. And I think it's time we start keeping it real with ourselves and start talking about these things because, lots of people need help, especially with the pandemic. I've found that lots of people have been contacting me and asking me, what benefits can I claim? I don't understand universal credit. What do I need to do? And so I thought, well, if a few people are asking these questions, then a lot of people probably need the same answers as well. So a little bit about myself. So I started working for a nationally recognised charity in 2011. So up until March 2020, I was a money advice caseworker. I was a specialist money advice caseworker. I was a supervisor of the team actually, and I was also supervisor generally of the organisation. So, since 2011 I've got a fair bit of experience in dealing with debt and benefits and some other bits, employment, everything that the organisation dealt with. So I achieved a certificate in money advice practice in 2017 from Staffordshire University. And I was also a member of the Institute of Money Advisors. So I just thought, I've got all this experience that I can share. There might be people who really, I know there are people who really need this information. So I'm going to be doing a short series of videos, about 10 to 15 minutes on various topics, dealing with bailiffs, because I know that is a really massive issue. Things like paying your council tax, how to deal with debts, what debt options are there for you. Claiming benefits. There is a real stigma attached to that. I'm not really sure why, but there is such a stigma, and I would really like to break that down. And let's keep it real with ourselves. So, for all intents and purposes, I am still some random stranger on YouTube, so you don't have to take anything I say as gospel. I would still advise you to do your own due diligence. So whatever information I give to you, please go check it out. Please make sure that it's relevant to yourself. I don't want you to just say, oh, Michelle said it on YouTube and so it's true. Please still go check the information out. I have to give a disclaimer here. You must be regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority to give debt advice in the UK. I am not. So whatever information I share in these videos, please know this is just my own opinion. And you should also, seek further out if you think it's relevant to yourself. So just wanted to also say the reason I longer work in debt is because in April 2020, this video has been filmed in August 2020, I moved on to another sector, so I now work in the legal sector, and that's the only reason that I no longer work in debt. Just wanted to clear that up. Okay guys, let's move on to maximising income. So I would suggest that everybody should do this. People just assume that you can only claim benefits if you're out of work, and that's not necessarily true. So for some benefits you can claim, you could have a household income of up to £73,000 and still be eligible for benefits. So, there aren't many, I need to be honest, but it's still possible. So I would advise everybody to get a benefit check, because you don't know what you might be entitled to. And there are also other bits that, that people could advise you on that you didn't know even existed. So the recent government figures show that up to 7.5 million households do not claim means-tested benefits that they are entitled to. And bearing in mind, I just said means-tested, so that's not even contributory basis benefits, which I'll go on to in a second. And they might be losing out on up to £16 billion per year. Did you guys hear me? £16 billion are going unclaimed that people might be entitled to. So I think, the importance of a benefit check cannot be underestimated. There are various sites that you can go to do a check. There are various organisations that you can go to. I will link everything in the description below where you can find out how to get a benefit check. The other thing I was going to just say quickly is just to try and simplify benefits, the UK benefit system, although it's a little bit difficult to do that, just to make you aware, benefits can be categorized in two. So you have what are called means tested benefits, like I mentioned previously, and this basically means benefits that they look at your income, so they look at the household income, and then they decide if you're entitled to any of those benefits. So this would typically be your universal credit, for example. I'm sure everybody's probably heard of that. And then you've got your non-means tested benefits, which are then called contributory based benefits. And the reason they're called contributory based is because they are based on your national insurance contributions. So for anybody who works in the UK, depending on how many hours you work, you'd have to pay tax and national insurance. And these national insurance contributions, they're stacked up over a number of years rather. And after having so many years of national insurance contributions, it entitles you to receiving a pension when you reach the age of pension. So that's what your contributory based benefits are. So benefits that you get paid because you have paid enough national insurance contributions. So the stats that I gave you a second ago, that was only for means tested benefits. So I mean, nobody really has a real idea of how much people aren't claiming non-means tested benefits. So I'll give you an example. New style job seekers allowance. So for example, if you have a household where there's a couple, a partner, and they were both working, and say in the pandemic, so I mean this is very common, this has happened a lot, during the pandemic one person lost their job. So now there's only one partner working and they're the only one bringing in a wage. For argument's sake, there are no children in this one, in this household, just to simplify it, to make it easier. And the partner who's lost their job rolls up to the job centre and says, I would like to claim some benefits, please. The job centre primarily would be looking at means tested benefits, and so they would say, oh, we're sorry, the law says a couple can live on £116, I think it's £80, I'll put the correct figure up, a week. So because your partner is earning more than £116.80, the law says we don't need to pay you any more money. Now, I mean, that's quite discouraging, it's horrible to lose your job, but £116, let's be completely honest, isn't that much money, but that's what the law says. What can we do about it? Right. New style job seekers allowance is a contributory based benefit, so it's not means tested. And so what this means is the person who's lost their job might be able to claim, provided they meet certain criteria. Primarily what we will be looking at is if they have been accredited with enough national insurance contributions in the 2 tax years prior to the year they're claiming. So I'm going to break this down. So if, for example, we're claiming in 2020, you must have been accredited with enough national insurance contributions in the year 2018 and the year 2019. So what this allows you to do, so assuming, let's say you've been working for the past 25 years, we have no issues, we know you've been working full-time, just to make it easier, for the past 25 years or whatever, 3 years even, and you definitely have made enough national insurance contributions, then you would be entitled to new style job seekers allowance. Well, that means you're now entitled to getting £74.35 per week, and your partner's income isn't even considered because it's not means tested. It's just because you have paid national insurance contributions. Now, a lot of people are missing out on this because they don't even know it exists. I mean, you go to a job centre and they're not trained to tell you about contributory based benefits. They're primarily trained to tell you about means tested benefits. So you can see here the importance of getting a benefit check. £74 is not a massive amount of money, but it can go a long way when there isn't a lot of money. So these are one of the examples that I wanted to really draw out to you. And this is why I would really suggest that, you probably try to visit one of these places or try to speak to somebody at one of these charities that will do you a free benefit check, because they can check these things for you. The other thing I wanted to say about New Style Job Seekers Allowance is, just so you know, if you are getting severe disability premium or you are entitled to it, you will not be able to claim New Style Job Seekers Allowance. Now, don't worry about what that means. This would only affect people who are receiving a disability benefit and they're entitled to severe disability premium. So benefit system is really complicated, guys. I'm really trying to simplify it here. So if you think this might be you, I would still once again tell you, please speak to somebody. But the benefit system is such that you could have, you know, me and my next door neighbours, we could have the same amount of children, but there could be one slight difference. You know, maybe they have, well, I'll say slight, they might have some sort of disability that I can't visually see, because, you know, I'll be thinking, well, how come they get a lot more money than I do? It could be anything. So the benefit system is such that you can have two people who their circumstances look very identical, but there might be something underneath that that I don't know about, and that might entitle them to more money than I would receive. So I'm just going to explain what's necessary for a benefit check now, because it's quite painless and there should be no reason why anybody's not doing it. Typically, you would need to put information or provide information about your household. So how many people live in the house? Is it a couple? Are you married? You know, are you single? Also, do you have any dependents? So when it comes to children, the ages of the children are quite important. We would be looking at children under 16 as being dependent children. Children over 16 between the age of 19. So this is a bit tricky. So where you have children over 16 between the age, below 19, who are in full-time non-advanced education, they are still classed as dependents. So you would still be getting child benefit for those children. But if you have children over the age of 16, who are under the age of 19, who are not in full-time education, they will be classed as non-dependents, because a 16-year-old could have a job. And so if you were looking at means-tested benefits, the income of the 16-year-old will be counted, or they will be looking at a portion of that as your household income. So that's why the age of the children is very important. They'd be looking at, are there any disabilities? Because there are extra benefits out there for people who have disabilities, and rightfully so. They would be looking at rent. So if you're renting, you might be able to get help with the rent. This is what was housing benefit. So if you are receiving housing benefit, it continues to be housing benefit. However, if you've had a change in circumstances or you need to make a new claim, you wouldn't be able to do that. It would now be universal credit. I think I might have to do a separate video on universal credit, because it's different ballgame completely. Council tax, you might be able to get help with council tax as well. Mortgages, so if you have a mortgage and you are receiving means tested benefits, there is something called support for mortgage interest. I'll do a different video on that as well, and you might be able to get help with that as well. So it's very important that you have all the your household details and any sort of disabilities, and then also finally income. You know, are you earning? Is your partner earning? How many hours are you earning? That information would also be fed into a calculator, and that's how you can determine what you might be entitled to. So I understand that some people might have reservations about visiting, you know, centres for assistance, but you can also call for help. I think it's better to speak to somebody, but I will also provide some links below. So just a complete disclaimer, this video is not being sponsored by anybody. These are organisations that I've come in contact with during my time as a debt caseworker, and so that's why I'm linking to them. But guys, if you want to sponsor me, please feel free to do so. Just off the top of my head, I will link them all below. You know, we're looking at organisations like Turn to Us. They have a benefits calculator. Money Savings Expert, who doesn't love Martin Lewis? They also have a benefits calculator that you can access. Just so you know, the benefit calculators do have limitations, so they only once again calculate means tested benefits. It's not great, but I mean, it might help somebody out there. Please give it a try. So they only calculate means tested benefits, so that's the downside to these really. They're not going to be useful for you if you're currently in prison. They're not going to be useful for you if you're currently living abroad, and they're not going to be useful for you if you are living in residential care or currently in hospital. So please bear those in mind, which is why I'm also saying please speak to somebody. It's nothing to be ashamed of. People aren't going to judge you, because I know there is a lot of that going on. People feel ashamed. Whatever circumstances you found yourself in, it's not your fault. And there is help out there. That's just what I want you to know. And thank you guys. I will catch you in the next video.